Okay, so let's start with loops. So in this problem, we'll learn how to use for loop in Java with the help of examples, and we will also learn about the working of loop in computer program. Okay, so Java for loop is used to run a block of code for a certain number of time. The syntax of for loop is for loop is just we are running certain number of times a block of code, right? So initial expression initialize or declares variables and execute only once. So for loop has like three things during its when a for loop is defined to run a body, right? So the first is initial expression means something that you are defining initially within your for loop, right? Test expression is it is the condition in which the loop should continue running. And update expression is okay, you are updating your expression, right? So initial will execute at the very start or the very first time. Test will happen each time the loop is trying to execute and update is happening each time the loop executes. Okay. So basically, this is what it says. So update expression updates the values of initial expression, not necessarily initial expression, but initial expression here it's signifies there could be some initial expression before for loop as well. But in generally, we have seen it like happened to be this way. The condition is evaluated again. The process continues until the condition is false. Okay. The condition is evaluated again, but the display numbers from 1 to 5. Program to print numbers from 1 to 5. So we are printing number from 1 to 5 here. Given integer and as an input, print the number from 1 to n in separate lines. Okay. So we are taking our input, we have to print n. Okay. So we are closing our input here. So, okay. So we have to print numbers from 1 to n in separate line. Okay. So we will initialize a variable first, right? And it should be start from 1 because we have print from 1 to n. We will say until unless it is less than equal to n, we are updating the variable by 1. Okay. So here I plus plus is nothing but it is equal to I plus 1. Okay. It is nothing but we are saying I is equals to I plus 1. So each time we are implementing the I by 1. Okay. So what we have did is we have initialized a variable int I that with the value 1. So initially 1. This is the initial expression that gets getting excluded. Now if 1 is less than equal to n, okay. So currently update will not happen because we have just initialized our variable. Okay. So system.out.print line. Since we have to print each new line, the variable, so we are printing it. Now, what will happen is once one is printed, it will increase to two. If two is less than equal to n, then it will just keep on executing this thing. Okay, now since it's a void function, we don't have to return anything from our end. We'll run this program. So okay, we'll move to the next question. That is methods. Okay. So method is a block of code which only run when it is called. So now programming is very complex, right? You have to run certain number of things at certain instance. And let's say somebody has to write about a card, okay? Now, if for each card, if he writes a code, it's like too lengthy thing, right? Or if he has to put, let's say, just a click on the card, and that is a function. That is what the card is for. That once you click it, it opens a new. Okay. Now for each application, we have to write like specific code. Instead, what we can do is, okay, if there is a common function that just says, okay, for a card, if it is clicked, if there is a link associated with that card, should just get opened, right? So just card and that whatever card has been taken, if we can just pass the link and the rest of the code is should be same, right? Because everybody is just opening the new tab, right? Or new window, right? So in that case, to reduce repetitive work, so it's a method, right? We are performing a method, a sequence of process, right? So what is method? Is method is just a sequence of steps that we are performing. Right? So methods are used to perform certain action and they're also known as functions. To reuse code, define the code once and use it many times, right? So uh, a method must be declared within a class. Okay. It is defined with the name of the method followed by parentheses. Java provides some predefined methods such as system.print line, but you can also create your own method to perform certain actions. Okay. So each time we don't have to write the whole code for to write into the buffer or to write into the terminal, right? It is handling everything. Just we are passing what we have to print, right? And rest of the things is handled by this method. Okay. So similarly, so our task would be like you need to define two functions in the code below. First function should be named add and it must accept two integer arguments and it must return sum of both the integer argument. Okay. Second function should be multiply and it must accept two integer argument. It must return multiplication of both the integer argument. Okay. So we have been asked to create two separate functions. One is add and one is multiply. So anytime if I have to add two numbers, it should print it. I can export it in different ways. That's the beauty of the method. Okay. So we are in public class. We'll define a variable. So since we are the public class name, so since we are within the class, you define the function within this do not matter false. It is within the class, so that function will be able to access the private methods as well. Okay, so we will define uh class public statement int add. Okay, so it should take two variable and so all inputs are defined below the function and it should open a plus. Similarly, we have to write for multiplication. Now let's execute our code. Multiply, so function name also matching. Okay, add. So here it's case sensitive. So here able to go through. Now let's say if we don't pass public here, what will happen? Just see. So passed, right? Because we are within the same class. Okay. Now let's say we don't pass word static. Non-static method add cannot be referenced from a static context, right? So this is a non-static method, right? Because we the word remove the word static, and this is considering it as to be static. Okay. So now we will try removing, let's see, public here. Okay. We'll put the word static back to just see one learn what is happening with the method. So we'll run it. See, doesn't matter, right? If we remove static, let's see. See, now it's able to execute.